Math 1, Math Essentials, and Algebra 1 packet. Evaluate each expression. Number 1, -7 plus 2. You owe $7 and you pay $2. That means you only owe $5. So that means you're -5. You're short of $5, right? The answer is -5. Number 2, -1 and a -8. That gives you a -9, right? Answer is D. Number 3, +8, -7, and a -8. You have a +8 and a -8, so those two cancel each other out. So you're left with -7. So the answer is -7. Number 4, you have a +5, a -7, and a +7. The -7 and the +7 cancel each other out, and you're left with +5. Number 5, -2 minus, you subtract it now, -8 minus a -8. So what happened with those two -8s? Those two -8s become +8s because you were subtracting, right? The subtraction sign become a positive sign. Whenever you change in the signs, you also, whenever you change it from subtraction to an addition, you also change the sign of the number that's following. So we end up with +16, 8 and 8 is 16, minus 2. So the answer is +14. The same thing applies to number 6, -1, -3, minus a -1. Your answer is a -3 because that minus -1 became, the minus sign become a plus sign, and the -1 become a +1. So that means that +1 and that -1 cancel each other out. So your answer is a -3. Math 1, Math Essentials, and Algebra 1 packet. Find each quotient. We're going to do division. Number 7, -12 divided by -6. You have a negative at the top and you have a negative at the bottom. You just cross out those two negatives. 12 divided by 6 is equal to what? 2. So the answer is +2. Number 8, you have a -16 at the top and you have a +8 at the bottom. Your answer, 16 divided by 8 is 2, right? So we're going to say the answer is a -2 because a negative at the top and a positive at the bottom, a negative times a positive gives you a negative. Your answer is going to be a negative, okay? Number 9, you have a -24 at the top and you have a -3 at the bottom. You have a negative at the top, negative at the bottom. You cross out those negatives. So you're saying 24 divided by 3. Your answer is going to be what? A +8. Number 10, +63 at the top, a -7 at the bottom. Remember, you have a negative and a positive, so your answer is going to be a negative. So the answer is 9, -9. Okay? Whenever the signs are different, your answer is going to be a negative. Math 1, Math Essentials, an Algebra 1 packet. Find each product. Product means we're multiplying. A -4 times a -10 is what? A negative times a negative is what? A positive, right? So your answer is what? Positive 40. Number 12. Positive 8 times a -4. A positive times a negative gives you a what? A negative. So the answer is 8 times 4 is 32. But because the signs are different, you're going to use the negative sign. Number 13. You have a -5 times a positive 4. Two different signs. Your answer is going to be 5 times 4 is 20. So you end up with -20. Number 14, evaluate each expression. This one is a little more complex because now you have to put you're doing a mixed fraction. You're turning your mixed fraction into improper fraction. So you have number 14 is -3 2/3 minus a -10/7. I'm going to take this mixed fraction and turn it into an improper fraction. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2 is 11. So I have -11/3 for the first half of the equation minus a -10/7. Remember what I said about minus? If you're subtracting in algebra, you got to change the subtraction sign into an addition sign. So you have a -11/3 plus the subtraction sign become a plus sign, and that -10/7 become a positive 10/7. So now we're going to move to the next step, which is to find your denominator, your common denominator. So we have a 3 on the left hand side for a denominator, and you have a 7 on the right hand side for a denominator. So on the left hand side that has a 3, I'm going to put a bracket next to the 3 and put a 7 at the bottom. If I put a 7 at the bottom, I'm going to put a 7 next to that 11 at the top. That's on that half of the equation. So now I see that my bottom is 21. My least common denominator now is 21. So on the right hand side, I have a 7. How do I make that 7 a 21? I have to put a 3. 7 times 3 is 21. If I put a 3 at the bottom, I have to put a 3 at the top. So now I have, on the right hand side, I have 10 times 3. Right? So now my equation is -77/21. Remember, now I change that minus sign to a plus, subtraction sign to a plus. -77 plus positive 30 is the top portion. My denominator is 21. So -77 plus a positive 30 is equal to -47. 77, -77, and a positive 30 gives you a -47. So my answer is -47/21. That's the answer, A. Number 15, we have a -1/2 plus a -3/4. My denominator is a 2 and a 4. How do I make that 2 the same as a 4? 2 times what is 4? So I'm going to put a 2 next to the 2, because 2 times 2 is 4 on the left hand side. If I put a 2 at the bottom right there, so that could be a 4, I have to put a 2 at the top, right? So now I have a negative 2 over 4 plus a negative 3 over 4. So my answer is a negative 2 and a negative 3 give me a negative 5 over 4. That's the answer for those two. Number 16, solve the equation. X plus 20 equal 14. What plus 20 equal 14? What are you short of? You're short of $6, really, right? Well, how we're going to do it is this. You take that positive 20 and you put it on the other side of the equal sign. So that way you could have x by itself. Now we have x is equal to positive 14 and a negative 20. Why is it a negative 20 on that side now? Anything, whenever you move a number from one side of the equal sign to the other side of the equal sign, the sign changes. So we have a negative 20 and a positive 14 gives you a negative 6. Number 17. 0 is equal to negative 5p. We're trying to get p by itself. So how do you get that p away from, that 5 away from the p? You have to divide the 5 so that it cancels out itself. Right? If you're going to divide the 5 on this side of the equal sign, you're going to divide the 5 on that side of the equal sign. So we have 0 divided by that same negative 5 is equal to p. Therefore, your answer is 0. Okay? Which is C. Number 18. 9 is equal to 14 plus x. We need to get x by itself. So to get x by itself, we have to move that positive 14 from that side of the equal sign. So you're going to do a minus 14, right? To get rid of that 14. If you do a minus 14 on this side of the equal sign to cancel out that 14, you got to put a minus 14 on the left side. So you have 9 minus 14. What is your answer? You're going to have a minus 5. Right? Because 9 plus 5 is 14, but you're taking the sign of the higher number. Right? The negative sign. Number 19. 12 minus x equals 16. We want x by itself on the side of the equation. So you have a positive 12. You're going to do a minus 12. You're going to subtract that 12 from this side of the equal sign. So if you have a minus 12 on the left side of the equal sign, you're going to do a minus sign on the other side. So you have minus x is equal to 16 minus 12. Is what? 16 minus 12 is 4, right? But now you have a negative x. So that negative x is negative 1x. So you're going to divide by negative 1 because you can't have a negative x. So negative 1x divided by negative 1 is equal to the 4, the positive 4, over the negative 1 to get your answer. Right? So your answer would be what? 4 over the negative 1 gives you what? A negative 4. Right? Number 20. 11p plus A equal 14. You need the A by itself. So you're going to take that 11, and to get rid of that 11, you got to minus it from there. So cancel out the 11. If you have a minus 11 on that side of the equal sign, you do a minus 11 on the other side of the equal sign. So 14 minus 11 is what? Hmm? 3, right? The answer is 3. 21. 6v equal to negative 66. 6v, you need to have the v by itself. Because the 6 is connected to the v, it's right next to it, it's just stuck to it. You have to divide the 6v by 6. 6v divided by 6. If you're dividing by 6 on this side of the equal sign, you're going to do the next side of the equal sign, you're going to divide whatever is there by 6. So you end up with v on this side. V is now by itself. V is equal to negative 66 over 6. So your answer is negative 11. Number 22. Negative 11 is equal to A over 17. So you need to get that 17 from the bottom, because we want A by itself. So how do you get rid of this 17? Remember, this is a fraction, A over 17. So you have to multiply by 17 on this side to get rid of this. The opposite of division is multiplication. So if you have a division, you're going to multiply on that side to get rid of that number that's there. So if you're going to multiply by 17 on this side of the equal sign, you're going to multiply by 17 on the left hand side. So your answer is 17 times 11. There's a negative sign, so your answer is A, negative 187. Number 23. 6 times 6n minus 2 on this left-hand side of the equal sign is equal to negative 308 on the other side of the equal sign. On this left-hand side of the equal sign, you have 7, open bracket, 6n minus 2, close bracket. 7 times 6 is 42n. 42n minus 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. When you solve all that, your answer will be negative 7. Okay? N will be negative 7. Number 24. You have negative 15 is equal to 5, open bracket, 1 plus 4m. We need to find m. So on this side of the equal sign, we have negative 115. On this right hand side, we have 5, open bracket, 1 plus 4m. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20m. So we have 5 plus 20m. We're going to take the 5 and take it to the other side of the equal sign. Remember, it's a positive 5, so when you take it on the other side, it becomes a negative 5. So you end up with negative 120 on this side. So you have negative 120 on this side of the equal, on the left-hand side of the equal sign, and you have a 20m on the right-hand side. So there's this 20m. You don't need that 20 next to the m. To get rid of the 20, you have to divide by 20 to cancel out. So if you're dividing by 20 on this right-hand side of the equal sign, you're going to also divide that negative 120 over the 20. So your answer is negative 6. Number 25. 109 is equal to 3 open bracket Negative 5b minus 2 minus 5. By the time I finish doing my equations, my answer is negative 8. Remember, with this open bracket, the 3 times the negative 5b, and you have a 3 times the negative 2, and all that minus 5, and then you're going to have something by the 5b. You want that b by itself. That 15b, you want that b by itself, so you're going to divide that 15 on this side to get rid of it. Okay, your answer will be 8. Number 26. 6 open bracket 1 plus 7m open bracket close bracket is equal to negative 2m plus 6. We're going to continue with that portion later on. Let me stop this video so that I'm losing Math 1, Math Essentials, Algebra 1 packet, number 16, x plus 20 equal 14. We have to have x by itself on one side of the equation. That means we have to take that positive 20 and move it on the other side of the equal sign. So now we're left with x is equal, or how do we get, Math 1, Math Essentials, Algebra 1 packet, number 16, solve each equation. With this section, these 5 that we're going to do, we need to isolate the variable on one side of the equation, right? Number 16, x plus 20 equals 14. X positive 20 equal 14. We're taking this positive 20. We're going to subtract 20 from there to cancel it out. If you subtract 20 on this side of the equal sign, you have to subtract 20 on the other side of the equal sign. So we're left with x is equal to 14 minus 20. You see the minus sign is next to the larger number. So that means your answer is going to take the sign of the largest number. Therefore, x is now equal to minus 6. Because 20 take away 14 is 6, but you're using the sign of the larger number. Number 17. 0 on one side of the equation is equal to negative 5p. We need the variable by itself. We need that p by itself. But right now we have that negative 5 next to the p. We have to get rid of that negative 5. So we're going to divide that negative 5 by itself. So negative 5p divided by negative 5 will cancel out the negative 5, and so that p is by itself. So if we divide by negative 5 on this side of the equal sign, we're going to also divide by negative 5 on the other side of the equal sign. So we're left with 0 over negative 5 is equal. 0 over negative 5 is equal to p. 0 over negative 5 is the same as 0. So the answer is C. Number 18. 9 on this side of the equal sign is equal to 14 plus x. We want x by itself. So we're going to subtract 14 from this side of the equal sign, the right hand side of the equal sign. If you subtract this 14 from here, it'll leave x by itself. So if it's a subtracting 14 here, you have to subtract 14 on the left side of the equal sign. So 9 minus 14 gives you minus 5. So x is now minus 5 is equal to x. Number 19, 20 minus x equals 16. We want this x by itself. 20 minus x, 12, 12 minus x equals 16. So we're going to subtract 12 on this left-hand side of the equal sign. So minus 12 here, we'll get rid of that 12. So we have on this right-hand side, we have 16 minus 12, right? 16 minus 12 is a what? 4, right? 16 take away 12 is 4. But look, we have a minus x here on the left-hand side still. That's minus 1. So we're going to divide this minus 1 that's sticking next to this x. So we have minus 1. We're dividing minus 1 on the left-hand side. We're going to divide minus 1. So remember, we had 16 minus 12 was 4, right? So we have 4 over minus 1, right? So that means our answer is a what? Minus 4. The answer is a minus 4. Number 20, 11 plus a equal 14. 11 plus something equal 14, just common sense. 11 plus what is 14? The answer is going to be a 3. Okay, but let's do it the algebraic way. We need to isolate the variable a by itself on the left-hand side of the equal sign, because that's how the problem is given to us. So we're going to get rid of that 11 on this side of the equal sign and put it next to that number on the other side. Numbers go together, basically. So we put 11, we got minus 11 on this side of the equal sign so that a could be by itself. And 14 minus 11 is 3. That's why we have a is equal to 3. Math 1, Math Essentials, and Algebra 1 packet. Number 21. 6v is equal to negative 66. We need to isolate our variable v on the left-hand side. So we have to get rid of that 6 that's next to that v. Anything that's sticking close to that variable, that's attached to the variable, you have to divide it from there. So you're going to 6 over 6 v is equal to negative 66 over 6. If you're dividing by 6 on the left-hand side of the equal sign, you're going to also divide by 6 on the right-hand side of the equal sign. Leaving v by itself, v is equal to negative 66 over 6, which is negative 11. Number 22. Negative 11 is equal to a divided by 17. Now we have our variable a is a numerator and a denominator of 17. We have to get rid of that denominator of 17. So the opposite of division is multiplication. So we have to multiply that a over 17 by 17. So a over 17 times 17. 17 will cancel out that denominator. So if you're multiplying by 17 on the right-hand side of the equal sign, you're going to multiply negative 11 that's on the left-hand side of the equal sign times 17. And negative 11 times 17 is equal negative 187. Number 23. 7 open bracket 6n minus 2 is equal to negative 308. 7 is connected to that open bracket. 6n minus 2. So you're going to solve that. 7 times 6 is 42n minus 14. 7 times 2 is 14 minus 14, right? So you have 42n minus 2 minus 14 is equal to negative 308. And you end up with a negative 7 for the answer, the final answer. Number 24. Negative 115 is equal to 5, open bracket, 1 plus 4m. You have on the right hand side of the equal sign a 5 that's connected to that open bracket. So you're going to say 5 times that 1 is 5. And 5 times, you're using the distributive property, so 5 times 4 is 20. So you end up with negative 115 is equal to 5 plus 20m. By the time we finish doing all that calculation, you're going to end up with an answer of negative 6. Number 25. 109 is equal to 3, open bracket, negative 5b, negative 2, close bracket, minus 5. 109 is equal to 3, open bracket, time 3 times negative 5b is negative 15b. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. By the time you do the like terms, you combine those numbers and you divide out that 15b by 15 so that you could have b by itself. Your answer will be a negative 8. B will be negative 8. Number 26. 6, open bracket, 1 plus 7m, close bracket, is equal to negative 2m plus 6. So we end up with 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 7 is 42m on this left hand side of the equal sign. On the right hand side of the equal sign, we keep the negative 2m plus 6. You're going to take that m on the right hand, that negative 2m on the right hand side, and you're moving it to the left hand side, so it becomes a positive 2m on the left hand side. So on the left hand side, we have our variables. 42m plus 2m is equal to the right hand side. We're going to move that 6 that's over there on the left hand side and become a minus 6. So you got 6 minus 6. So your answer is 44m is equal to 0. But you need to get m by itself. To get m by itself, you have to divide that 44m divided by 44 so that the 44 cancel itself. So m is now equal, if you're dividing by 44 on this left hand side, you have to divide by 44 on the right hand side. So m is equal to 0 over 44. 0 over 44 is the same as 0. It's like nothing out of 44, right? So it's nothing, right? Number 27. 7, open bracket, 1 plus 6x minus 5 is equal to negative 4x plus 2. We're trying to find out what x is. 7 on the left hand side times 1 is 7. 7 times 6 is 42x. So you have 7 plus 42x minus 5 on the left hand side of the equal sign. On the right hand side of the equal sign, you have a negative 4x plus 2. So we're going to do the like terms. So we're going to have on the left hand side our variables. So that's our 42x. And we're going to take that negative 4 and take it over on the other side with that 42x. So when you take that negative 4x, it becomes a positive 4x. So you end up with negative 40, you end up with a positive 46x is equal to, you're going to take that 7 and that negative 5. Once you calculate 7 minus 5 is 2. So you end up with a positive 2 on the left hand side. You're going to take that positive 2 and take it to the other side. So you're going to end up with when you take it on the other side, that become a minus 2. So you've got 2 minus 2 on the right hand side. 2 minus 2 is 0. So on the left hand side, you have 46x is equal to 0. But you need to isolate the x from that 46. So you're going to say 46 divided by 46 so that it cancels out. That means x is by itself. If you divide by 46 on this left-hand side of the equal sign, you're going to also divide that 0 over 46. So x is equal to 0 over 46. So your answer is D, 0. 0 over 46 is the same as 0. Number 28. 3 open bracket x plus 5 minus 2x. That's on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Equal 4x plus 21 on the right-hand side of the equal sign. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 15 is 15 minus 2x. That's on the left-hand side of the equal sign. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, you have you're keeping your 4x and a 21. So that left-hand side, we have to combine that 3x and the minus 2. So you end up with 1x. So you have 1x. But then you're going to combine all your x's. So we got 1x over there. Then you're going to take the 4x from this right-hand side and take it over. Remember, you're putting all your x's together, right? So you have a 3x on the left-hand side, you have a negative 2x, and you have a negative 4x on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you're going to have the 21, and you're going to take that 15, that whole number 15, and take it over, so it becomes a minus 15. So you're going to end up with 3x minus 2x minus 4x. You end up with negative 3x on the left-hand side of the equal sign. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, 21 minus 15 equals 6. So now you're left with a negative 6x, a negative 3x is equal to 6. Now we want x by itself. How do you get x by itself? You have to divide it by that number that's next to the x. The number that's next to the x is a negative 3. Negative 3x divided by negative 3, so that you cancel out that negative 3. If you divide by negative 3 on the left-hand side, you have to divide by negative 3 on the right-hand side. Now we're left with x is equal to, the answer is negative 2, because 6 divided by 3 is 2, but there's a negative sign. Number 29. 36 minus 6k is equal to negative 7, open bracket, k minus 5 plus 6. By the time we finish doing all that calculation and making sure our x's are on one side of the equal sign and whole numbers are on the other side of the equal sign, we're going to end up with k is equal to 5. So our answer is D. Number 30. Solve for the unknown in each equation by taking the square roots. The next part of this video will deal with square roots. There are 3 square roots problem on here. I think I can go ahead and plug that out, add that to this video. Number 30, x squared plus 5 is equal to 6. X square root, x square, right? We're dealing with square roots right now, right? That's why you have x to the second power. So when you write it out, you're going to say x square is on the left-hand side of the equal sign. You take that positive 5 and you move it on the other side of the equal sign. So you have a 6 minus 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. So your answer is x squared is equal to 1. But you have to square root each side because of this x squared. You now do a square root sign, and you put the x squared inside of it, is equal to square root of the 1 on the other side of the equal sign. So the square root of x squared is x. The answer is x is equal to plus or minus 1. The square root of 1 is plus or minus 1. That means positive 1 times positive 1 is positive 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Right? That's why you put the plus and minus. So your answer is x is equal to plus and minus 1. That's number 30. Number 31 is the same manner. The problem is n squared minus 10 equals 71. You're going to take that negative 10 and bring it on the other side. So it's going to be a positive 10 on the right hand side of the equal sign. So you end up with n squared is equal to 81, positive 81. In your common knowledge of multiplying, when you see a number like 81, you already know the answer is, what times what is 81? 9 squared, two numbers. Two numbers equal 81, two same numbers. 9 times 9 is 81. So on the left hand side you have n squared. On the right hand side you have 81. The square root of n squared on the left hand side and equal the square root of 81 will give you 9. Plus and minus though. You have to say plus and minus 9. So n is equal to plus and minus 9. Number 32. N squared plus 4 equals 13. Same thing. You take that positive 4 on this left hand side of the equal sign and take it over next to that 13, so it becomes a negative 4. 13 minus 4 is 9. N squared on the left hand side is equal to 9. What times what is 9? So your answer will be n is equal to plus or minus 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. That's number 32.